Hello again, Struckweb. Today I'm bringing you another build video for Warhammer Chaosbane, and this one is for the new character Keela Gunnarsdottir. And this one is about the Blaze Heart set, also called the Blaze set on the items themselves, which kind of has a nice synergy for fire skills. That's why I'm using the fire excavation, and from there comes the blazing excavator build name. I found how the build would be better if you're not using the blaze set, and in the gear section I'm mentioning why I think playing this build with a different set, with the melee set, would be stronger, but more about that in the gear segment. Now let's talk about why this build is the way it is. First of all, you have a nice synergy from one of the passives, mechanical hits, master, that allows you to do extra fire damage. And it doesn't have to be a fire skill, any skill would be getting that damage as long as it's a melee skill. I didn't actually notice any big difference on heavy pounding, but with excavator the difference can be seen, and the wife leech that comes from that is amazing. And this footage was recorded, as you can see, on Chaos 9. The build can do Chaos 10, but sometimes one shots can be a problem for the build. Regardless how much you're wife stealing, if you get one shot, there's no wife stealing back from zero. So as long as you can make sure that you don't get one shot, maybe by stacking as much damage reduction on rings as you can, maybe 2 granite rings, so you can have the damage reduction at all times and reducing the damage by 80% with 2 granite rings. I was using 1 granite ring and 1 grom reel, and the grom reel does give me extra damage reduction, but after taking a Bloodlust Orb. I mean, you can even play it as more offensive, and the God skill 3 gives us 410% crit damage. And there's multiple ways how you can get it, but the best way I found, I'm showing in the God skills segment, is getting one of the 10% damage bonuses that reduces cost reduction, along with up to 410 crit damage stacked. And then there's 400 more from the chain reaction, duelist chain reaction. So overall the damage is nice, and most bosses you can face tank as long as you don't get one shot, stunned, etc. So you should be able to do it well. The one problem I found with the build might be the AoEs, but I've included a lot of AoE to help with that. The skills we're using for this build are kind of like this: Excavation Mastered, Morgrim Smite, the basic one, Heavy Pounding Superior, just for when you want a little bit of AoE, but this one is kind of flexible, so you can use Iron Dragon or anything else here on this spot. Makeshift Automaton Mastered because it's fire, then Explosive Rush Superior because it's fire, but if you wanna be using a Master Iron Dragon here, you're gonna have to probably downgrade this to the basic one, which also is fire, just no explosive. Violent explosion that taunts enemies at the end. So then experimental explosive, just put that there as a fewer as well. So it's nice, I think it fits well, and it's on the God skill 3 on the way to the crits. Then we have the heroic gelatinous pitch, we have padded armor, then mechanical hits master. This is where a lot of the wife leech and damage comes from. And it's not from the 25% damage, it's not gonna give you that good results if you use the superior version, which was here or here. So basic or superior version is 20% damage, but doesn't give you that extra fire damage. And this extra fire damage, you don't get it only with fire skills. Even if you downgrade this to a physical version, it's still gonna be doing a lot of damage, and this damage does a ton of wife steal. So all you need is like a wife steal weapon or an amulet or a ring, something like that with wife steal, and this mechanical hits mastered would be great. Then we have duelist chain reaction, and we're spamming turrets to keep it up. That's why the cooldown reduction and damage reduction upgraded automaton superior. I don't think you need anything stronger than that. I don't think you need the damage one. I'd rather take the damage reduction than the extra damage, because the main damage is not gonna be from the turrets when we play the build the way it's set up. And then we have upgraded radiator. This kind of makes overheating be faster, and since we're using this, the overheating won't go down, so we would have this at all times, this extra 20% damage reduction. We're not taking this for the explosion because there's not gonna be explosion when we're using this. And while we're using excavation, we're wife leeching, and the health regeneration and that comes from this, the minus health regeneration, is negated. I think this is kind of pretty clear why I took those skills. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask in the comment section. So legendary crushing would be nice. Find max out legendary crushing if you can, because you're gonna be hitting the enemies a lot. The problem is this works against a single target enemy when using excavation, maybe 2-3 targets if they're clustered up. So you would need some sort of damage, AoE damage, and that's where the turrets or heavy pounding can come handy, as well as experimental explosive. It gives us the needed AoE for the build. So legendary crushing makes enemies you damage, do less damage to you. I think this doesn't need that high of a chance when doing bosses, because this keeps making a ton of attacks per second, and that's where this comes handy. This with a higher chance, eventually you would need that. Eventually when you have levels, do at least 30% on this one, max it out for maximum damage done and damage reduction. And that kind of is it for those. You can experiment with others. I mean, that's always changeable. You can always remove points, add points. It's free to mess around with those. For the god skills, I decided to go all in on the damage. Going balls deep over here for the 30 crit damage node, here for the 40 crit damage node, here for the 40 crit damage node, and here for the 30 crit damage node. There's other things you could do. For example, you can remove 1, 2, 3, 4 nodes, and then those 4 nodes you can add them 1, 2, 3, 4. The differences are not gonna affect your build. You take 2 damage here and 4 bonus damage to champions, and here you take 4 bonus damage to champions and 2 damage, so it's exactly the same. And then you can maybe take 1, 2 more, which is kind of like, let me just quickly check. Yeah, it's not gonna be, you can't get more than 410 crit damage. I tried many setups and I just couldn't get more than that, more than 410. Let's just show you. If I go all the way here for this crit damage, this one, then take this one, and then we have 10 of those left, which takes us here, and that's still 410 crit damage, but you can remove those. And now you've got 4 points. 4 points you could spend elsewhere and still keep the crit damage. You don't have as much damage with this setup, keep that in mind, but what you could do is lose some cost reduction, get some more damage, and this works well. And I think this is probably the best thing. If you don't need cooldowns, you can get extra armor piercing, but it's only 2% unless you want to get rid of this, and then you can do that. What you could do with those 2 points is get some cooldown reduction if you need it, or anything you might need. So experiment. The main thing is you're looking for a 410% crit damage, and there's multiple ways you can get it. So if you go for this damage, you're losing cost reduction. If you go for this, you're losing HP. And I suggest if you want to go for that damage, do it like that. So let's say this is the best setup. And those 2 points, you just decide where to spend them yourself. My suggestion would be maybe get some armor piercing. because it's not gonna be a bad idea, or the cooldown reduction. So after we figured out what the best god skill setup is, let's show you some information about the gear. The gear I decided to use is not the best one for this, but since I wanted to show you a build centered around the Blaze Heart set, that's what I'm doing. But I tested this build with the Anvil Strike set, and it works better. Why? Because look at the Anvil Strike. Anvil Strike can give you up to 250% damage and 25% damage reduction. So this damage is for melee skills. Excavation is a melee skill. And you don't need to be using the fire excavation to be getting the bonus. This one, the Blaze set, is only 100% crit damage and up to 600 damage over time. So yeah, it's not great, and you also need overheat charges to get that bonus, and you're not getting it all the time. And the only bonus of this set is the heroic Geotina speech, which gives you some extra fire damage and even more fire damage when you have a max overheating, and burning an enemy reduces their damage for a few seconds, so it gives you that 20% damage reduction. And yeah, the overheating explosions leaving that trail of fire, but still it's not as good as you could get the damage to be with that 250% damage, not crit damage but damage from the Anvil Strike set. So keep that in mind. As usual, I would tell you get cooldown reduction if you want it. On this build you don't need that much because you can still spam the turrets even if it's like 3-second cooldown, but try to keep the cooldown of the turret if you can to 2 seconds. So on other builds I would suggest to go for higher cooldown reduction. On this one the only thing that really needs the cooldown reduction would be experimental explosives, so you can spam it, but that's not gonna be the main deal breaker or something like that. So 2-3 seconds on the turret is fine. Once you've got that, you shouldn't focus that much on it. You can get cooldown on the helmet, on the rings and amulet. Then you need a rock splitter hammer, and currently the best pistol for this setup would be the Forge Butt, but it's broken, it's not building those stacks, so you're not gonna get that up to 300% damage on an enemy once you build those stacks on it. That's why the Corroder gives you 200% extra damage while the enemy is in the circle, and this is the second best choice. And currently the first choice for a pistol until Forge Butt is fixed. For the rings, you can either go for 2 granite rings or a granite and Grom reel or granite and siege breaker, anything. I think granite ring is fine. You've got enough damage as it is, but you need that damage reduction because you're static, and you can see in the videos that I included that I died a few times, and it's mostly you cannot save yourself from one shots unless you have a damage reduction. And no matter how much you're wife stealing and wife leeching, if you get stunned and take a hit and die from that one hit, it's over for you. And this is a squishy setup. I'm not using Move Mountain, and I'm not using Engineer of War Superior, so I'm losing up to 50% damage reduction just from that. So keep that in mind. So you want flat damage, crit damage, HP, armor, and maybe some health drain on the gauntlets. You want a good health drain on the hammer. Any place where you could get health drain is good. And the boots, you could get some movement speed. For amulets, I don't think there's any difference what you take. Neither amulet is gonna make or break the build. Mountain Pendant is not bad because you get that extra cooldown reduction proccing, but probably wear your best road one with crit chance, crit damage, flat damage if you can get it, even if it doesn't have cooldown. As I said, this build is a build that doesn't really need that much cooldown, and God Skills deal more damage is not gonna help you. God Skills healing doesn't work. I tested it on multiple characters with multiple God Skills and it's broken again. It used to work for a while, it was great, but now it's broken and it's kind of annoying that it is, but not much can be done. So this I strongly suggest staying away from Flint Pendant, it's not gonna work for you. This one, if you like it, if you like healing 30% less with the potion but having faster cooldown, by all means use it. And yeah, just find whatever you think fits you as long as it's good rolled. And for the rings, as I said, you might want to be using Siege Breaker for that extra damage, or Insulation for extra healing on crits if you have good crit chance. Insulation would probably be a nice synergy if you stack up the crit chance nicely. And that kind of is it for the blessings. What I do use is I use this one. Sometimes I would go for green if I want more HP, sometimes I would go for red if I want more damage, but that's the combination that I found to work well for most builds. Like probably 90% of the builds I've played and made are working well with this setup, green and red for damage and HP. And that was it for the gear. Hopefully everything is clear, and next I'm gonna show you some more gameplay. So playing this build is not that difficult, but it would require some minding of your HP, of your surroundings, and trying to make sure that whenever you're using Morgrim's Might, the skill that keeps draining your HP, you have some enemies nearby to be wife leeching when the HP is down. As long as you're running excavation, you would be getting some nice wife leech, enough to negate most heavy blows, but there would be some cases where there would be some one shots that could kill you, or if you're dealing with ranged enemies and your charge is in cooldown and you can't close in the distance, you might end up taking too many hits too quickly. So be prepared to die every now and then if you're doing Chaos 9 or 10. For the lower content you probably wouldn't have throws. Here the footage you're seeing, of course, as I mentioned, is one Granite ring, one Gromrio ring. So most of the time I didn't have the bonuses, the bonus 20% damage reduction from the Gromrio. While Morgrim's Might is active, you do not lose the overheating bonus, and you can just keep that at 100 stacks to get the 20% damage reduction, and that would make tanking bosses like this one a bit easier, so hopefully that's something you like. So if you need help, hints, tips how to play this build or any of my other builds or any build in general on any character, feel free to hop over to my Twitch or YouTube channel. You can live chat with me, you can leave me a comment and I can reply to that comment when I'm available. You can also find me on my Discord server, link in the description for that, and you can always chat with me over there if you need some help with anything. If you enjoyed this video, you could subscribe to my channel to get notified for more content updates for games like Chaosbane, Torchlight 3, Wolves and Words of Mayhem, or other similar isometric footers, or as well sometimes for Borderlands 3 content. Thanks for watching the video, folks. Keep it cool. Until next time, and goodbye.